Welcome to Everything About Web. This is Jamie Kavanaugh, and this is a media query walkthrough. So today we're going to take a look at a website that was built. It's not really a website, it's a prototype that's been built to be flexible. And by flexible, you'll see that as I make my browser window smaller, the entire site is just scaling. So this is sort of on our way to making a responsive website, but we have not included all three of the things that make a site responsive. So the first thing that makes it responsive is the just flexible grid. So here we have made our divs percentages. We also have changed our fonts, so they are M's. And we have also made our margins and padding percentages. We've also, these gray boxes that you see are images, and they have been made flexible by adding into our CSS a maximum width of 100%. So we've got a flexible site here, but we do not have a responsive site. So let's look at the second example I have here. And if I start collapsing the window here to make it the browser window smaller, you'll see that we've got a breakpoint set here. And this is what makes this site now responsive is I have set a breakpoint, and we're going to talk today about how to go about doing that. So in a previous tutorial, the one on media queries, I talked a little bit about a piece of code that's really important to add to your project right off in the beginning, and it is this meta name viewport, content initial scale 1.0 web device width. And this is going to be really helpful to eliminate the issue of any browsers that try to just scale your website rather than displaying them at their actual width. So we're going to make sure that we've got that in the head of our HTML. So notice we've got it in the head. I've got it below my links to my CSS. It could actually be up higher. Doesn't really matter, but that's an important piece of code. So now if we take a look at the CSS, so I'm just going to click over to the CSS, we will see that we are working from our flexible site. So if we can see that our widths are percentages, our our font sizes are M's, our width, our padding and our margins are percentages. Okay. But if we scroll down, we'll see that I've actually started to add some media queries to this. So I've just highlighted this for you. The very first media query is this at media screen and maximum width 768 pixels. And you'll see that the wrapper has been declared as being 100%. So what this means is that for anything that is below 768 pixels, the wrapper width is going to be 100%. Okay. The second media query that I have here is below, and there's quite a few things in this one. It's at media screen and max width 520 pixels. And this means that for anything smaller than 520 pixels, I've added quite a few CSS rules to that. So let's take a look at what they are. And I'm going to jump around here a little bit because I want to show you the ones that I think are some of the really important ones. And the really basic one, the one that's going to make probably one of the biggest differences in your site and really truly start making it responsive, is the one here that I've highlighted for our content div, where it says with 100% float none. Now, when we had just our flexible site before our media queries, remember everything was just scaling. With this media query, what I'm doing here with my content div is I'm specifying that the width is going to be 100% and there's no longer our float left. So what is going to happen is this is what's going to actually cause my divs to start stacking on top of one another. Okay, so that's a really important one, this with 100% float none. Notice I've done that same thing for the right column. So I also have defined that width as 100% and float none. So my right-hand column are the sidebar images, and you can see also that these stack on top of one another. Okay, so basically what's happening is I'm losing my two-column structure and it's really becoming now a one column. Okay, so that happens with that width 100% and my float none. Okay. Some other things is some other things that I have changed is that my width for my footer is now 100%. I've defined the height of my footer. So the height of my footer is 440 pixels high. I don't want it to be any smaller than that. We know we have to be careful about, target heights and widths and to make sure that things don't become so small in height. So you can see here as I scroll down that my footer here is actually 444 pixels high. Really probably wouldn't want it any smaller than that. And then I did quite a few things with my navigation because, as you can see, as the site responds to the smaller device, my navigation also changes its layout, it stacks rather than being completely horizontal. So some of the things that I did here is I added some border. I made my width 100% for my nav. I have floated I've floated the list elements to the left, and I've made the width 25%. And you might ask why I made it 25%. And the reason I made it 25% is notice that there are 4 nav buttons on each row. So the first one's 25%, the second one's 25, the third is 25, the fourth is 25, so that equals 100%. So I've just divided those widths into 25% each. And then sort of the trickiest part, I actually had to go into my HTML and add these IDs, is I wanted my nav 4 and my nav 8 to actually float to the right so that they would stack. So I have stated that in my media query. I've added some more, I added border to the to the right and to the top of my nav. Okay. And then for my logo, I have also gone in, made sure that that logo width was 100% and that I have defined my height at 44 pixels. And again, that's for the same reason, that I did that for my footer. I don't want them to become too small. So, and I could make those a little bit higher if I wanted to. So what you can really, play around with these values to see what happens and to tweak them to your liking. So that is my walkthrough of how to go about adding media queries to a site that's already flexible to create a truly responsive website. Thanks so much for watching Everything About Web. Please visit us at www.everythingaboutweb.com and on YouTube and Twitter.